I love the Bane pick as well. I mean, you saw how great Menu Ping was doing on that Bane last game around. I honestly automatically assumed it was banned out, considering how last game went, but they give him the Bane again, and that's one hero that can drain your mana. It does drain 5% of your mana pool, just with Fiend's Grip, so it's kind of like one of those hidden features of Fiend's Grip, it almost feels like, because nobody ever talks about it, but against heroes like Medusa, that can be quite detrimental to have to play against. And if I'm correct as well in saying, I think Bane even has a level 20 talent that gives you plus 5% mana drain, so you get even more later on if you really want, if you feel like you need to go down that route. But regardless of all that, John, I think giving Menu Ping Bane again, when you've already got a saving hero like Io as well, that could make it very hard to kill anyone.
Yeah, it complicates the game for Motivate.Trust, and now the issue for them is they still don't have a good way of canceling Grip outside of Disruption from the Shadow Demon, which it's hard for a Shadow Demon to really reliably do that all the time against the Bane. I think that's the one concern for Motivate.Trust. We saw them pick up the Clockwork in response and get the Lina off lane last time around to deal with a Bane. I don't think that really fits when you already have Medusa. It's just way too greedy, much greedier than game one. They will go with the Legion Commander, so they've got a strong Dispel on hand at the least to handle some of that control. And they get the Earth Spirit out for Q. We always used to talk about Q Earth Spirit, right? It always plays really well. He knows how to play that hero. He knows how to get his rotations going onto mid. We haven't seen it recently, and I think you can attest to this, Mike. Earth Spirit's just not in a very good spot, as we literally haven't seen any Earth Spirits in at least 2 months from you and I in any game we've casted. So it's a rarity nowadays. It is a Q special. I think having this aggressive 4 can help you compensate for how slow Deduce is. With a Legion Commander as well, if you do manage to set up, you can give your LT a good dual target and kind of just get going from there. So this is building into the aggression Motivate.Trust needs. I'm still curious about what Gotcha Boy gets, because this is you've mentioned it a couple times, but Kunkka is still available, and I don't think it's going to make it through the ban phase now.
I like that pick from Orca as well. I like the Night Stalker here. I think it's a very potent kind of hero to have, and there's nothing to slow it down this game. I don't see anything to stop it during the mid game. Let me go back to Motivate.Trust's draft for a second, John, because I want to go back into to defend the Earth Spirit pick, John, because I need someone to defend Earth Spirit here. I think it is a decent game for Earth Spirit because there's a lot of value. Being able to cancel the Bane Fiend's Grip from a mile away with the roll. You have the silence as well against Storm Io. That's very, very powerful from the Earth Spirit's end. So there's a hell of a lot of value if you do get that magnetize into the silence off and just silence a bunch of people. Up until they get those BKBs, say, on the Storm, it's going to mean a bit of a headache for Team Orca. At least for the supports, I'd say. I think it does make life a little bit more challenging for the Io Bane. But then again, we saw the Clockwork last game into Menu Ping's Bane, and it didn't matter. And Earth Spirit's very similar to Clockwork, John. If you don't dominate the lanes and have a snowbally kind of draft that just wants to fight, you just end up standing there doing nothing. And it really, really sucks to play. So it's if Motivate.Trust don't get off to a good start and start snowballing with this LC, it's going to be one of those painful Earth Spirit games where you literally have nothing to do.
Yep, they need to hit that tempo and Motivate.Trust. Again, Q is a pretty prolific Earth Spirit, so he knows what to do. It's just been a while since we've seen it come out. I am keen to see what Motivate.Trust still takes him in, because they still leave the Kunkka in, which is interesting. Like, the Quap and Invoker were banned out. Maybe they're just very confident in Orca about their mid matchup. Again, Storm level 3 up against Kunkka. It's a melee hero. You kind of bully him out at that point and can play with it. And X is very nebulous up against a Storm who can kind of dodge. Maybe not the early levels, doesn't quite have the pool for it, but down the line it'd be easier to. But you still get that value with the X back on the IO. So they could still gun for that on the side of Motivate.Trust. No option for Lina, no Puck. A lot of mids already taken out. Not seeing much else. Like, maybe something. You could try DK if you really wanted a good anchor. Like Gotcha Boy DK, we've seen that a couple of times. You can get some push going. Plays well with the Earth Spirit. They go to Leshrac instead, so that's where their momentum is going to be coming out from. Lesh down mid. Matchup against Storm's a lot more manageable. It does give you some early presence, early push on hand. And you can still play with an Earth Spirit rotation. So I think that's something we need to see from Q. Kind of maybe emulate what Afu does. 4 minutes in, go in, force the stunts out, land them, and get the kill on mid to secure your water runes. Orca into the Ursa. IO Ursa combination super strong. I think Orca's managed to get themselves a draft that has this really good tempo. You talked about the Fusel carriers, Mike. Ursa's one of them that can do that as well.
Yeah, I think Ursa fits very nicely here, and especially into all the control and damage you have from Motivate.Trust. The Ursa doesn't mind, right? Like, Leshrac wants to get close, but it's against an Ursa. Earth Spirit wants to get close, it's against an Ursa. Masaros wants to get close, Jonathan, and let me tell you, he's against an Ursa. It's not very safe against his fuzzy wuzzy bear. I like what Orca's picked here. I mean, Motivate.Trust, don't get me wrong, John, with that last pick, Leshrac can get very aggressive. You've got Q to set up into the Split Earth. Like, you roll in, Split Earth after, basically someone's going to die. You've got the follow-up for the Jewel now. You've got some decent save with the Shadow Demon. But if they play this draft like they played last game, I think they're going to fall apart. Because these kind of drafts, they take a bit of coordination. And let's be frank, John, Motivate.Trust, they didn't look like they were coordinated last game around.
Yeah, they looked pretty broken. And I think we're at this stage. You know, it's early on the group stage here, Mike, but you've already taken a loss here in Motivate.Trust. You've taken a draw already. You need to start finding some wins. The least you can do is draw this one out. Orca, of course, going to be looking to keep their position, kind of solidify themselves, taking a clean 2-0. And a lot in line. I think Motivate.Trust, they've got a lot to prove because they lost Jackie. They kind of lost Savage as conflicts of schedule, and it does look like he's got other priorities to think about. So we need to see these boys rise up. They've been demoted from Div 1 to Tour 1. They're kind of, this is a good point for them to regroup, refocus, and retrain. Maybe it's early on in that process, but you'd still want to see something coming out here from the Thai boys.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it is a great tournament to try and practice in, right? And Motivate.Trust, they're known as one of those teams that have won multiple of these. So, you know, there are, you know, not high expectations, but you still have those expectations from Motivate because they are a good team. Just a matter of who they're going to find to replace Jackie and whether Toy can fill those shoes. At least in this game number 2. I mean, he is playing one of the signature Jackie heroes right now, being that Medusa. So we'll see how well Toy does do here. But I'm not going to blame all this on Toy, because quite frankly, the rest of Motivate, again, just did not look like they were on the same page last game. It was not just Toy's fault. We'll see how game 2 goes, though. We don't want to judge Motivate too fast, but Orca did look pretty damn good at game 1.
Oh yeah, they played such a quick tempo, and I think, again, if you look at their lineup here on Orca, and that same tempo might come out. I think Motivate.Trust has set themselves up well to match that pace with Lesh and LC. But you have to watch yourself, because once GY has that Dark Ascension, the relocate plays of a Night Stalker IO on top of a magic damage dealer like a Leshrac makes it really easy to manage it. Looks like this time around we are going to be trading even on the bounties, so a 2-for-2 start coming out for both sides. And we're going to take a look at those lanes breaking out. We are looking at the IO and the Night Stalker, like Yif and GY once again in that offlane. They're going to be matching up against Toy on the Dusa, along with Boomboy on the Shadow Demon. Boomboy does start out with the Disruption. There's some decent plays you could try. Don't really know if you can do it well against an IO. He could still tether out. You will have the Shadow Poison to play with down the line, and this should be a very good farming lane for Toy. I don't see too much early aggression out from an IO Night Stalker on the Medusa. You've got the range advantage. You've got the Mystic Snake to fall back to. You should just be able to focus on farm. And the good news is, for the Shadow Demon, of course, you can also start stacking up very early on in that top jungle for Dedusa to farm up. So you do have that flash farm potential coming out just from this pick. That's something that Yif is going to have to keep track of, and he already has a pretty good ward watching that jungle area, so he'll know when the stacks are up and running.
Oh, absolutely. We'll have a look at the mid lane as well. I mean, you've got Citrus there against Garcha. So far, Citrus having a decent time mid lane. Do you give the advantage to one of the other player here, John, in terms of hero matchups?
I'd say this is fairly even. You are seeing Citrus kind of hit that early spike. It's important for Gotcha Boy to actually land the split hits, which is tougher against a range hero. So that is something that's keeping Citrus pretty safe. Level 3, Citrus is going to hit that a little bit faster. He can look to play aggressive. Vortex in, get a couple of Overlord charges on with a static Remnant on top, and Gotcha Boy is going to melt. So Gotcha Boy's got to take some caution there. once that level spike is up, and it is there, but wave isn't quite in his favor. I think for Gotcha Boy, key thing for him is to ride up to level 7. That's when we see the Pulse Nova leveled up. You tend to go 2-2-2 by 6, and just look for that rotation from the Earth Spirit. Maybe by the 4-minute mark, as we mentioned, you know, emulate Afu somewhat in what he does for SMG. Just look to apply that early pressure with a hero like the Earth Spirit from Q and kind of try to win out the lane with a gank.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, ES is one of the perfect heroes here to use with the Leshrac in this mid lane. Speaking of the Devil, we do see Q rotating up the river, but he's not going to try and make any form of a play onto the Storm. Just back off, back down to the bot lane, where we do see Q against BT Faded and Menu Ping. And of course, he'll be supporting Masaros on that Legion Commander. Of course, Masaros just kind of staying away from BT Faded and pulling the lane back as far as humanly possible. See, you can't really fight into the Ursa as this LC. It's not a fun lane for Masaros whatsoever. BT Faded, I mean, I don't need to even ask you, John. I think it is going to be heavily favored the way of Orca here in this bot lane.
Yeah, you're already seeing it. Top CS there for BT Faded, matching Night Stalker, matching his own Storm Spirit to an extent. All cores of Orca off to a really strong start in terms of farm. And that's a worrying sign for Motivate.Trust. They can build up with the Medusa in the jungle, but you need to get a little bit more from the sidelines. Maybe not so much in Masa, but definitely more from Gotcha Boy. And I think that's something they're going to have to rectify. We are seeing Q again rotate in. The Radiant Scan, though, spots out the Earth Spirit. So Citrus is going to be able to play safe. Good timing from Citrus, knowing that Earth Spirit's missing. Get the scan off, and it's just going to play by the camps instead.
It seems like he's trying to snipe the bounty rune away, but yeah, Citrus, he read the movement really well. Knew exactly what Q was up to, and right now, Q just seems to be wasting his time. Suppose you could stick around and just threaten Citrus here. But unless you can land that roll, Citrus is just going to be perfectly fine, and he's even got help coming in from Menu Ping. And I think this is just in case Q does decide to go for the committal. This Menu Ping is running right at Gotcha Boy. They're going for those runes again. And the water rune is going to spawn up, but Gotcha's got some help coming in from Boom Boy, and Q is still around as they will roll in onto Menu Ping and should be able to eventually get this Bane kill for First Blood to go the way of Gotcha. So a bit overly aggressive from the side of Team Orca, and they do end up paying for it.
Yeah, the least here for Orca, they don't lose their core. You did give a bit of a gold injection out to Gotcha Boy. He does have the opportunity to get D-Ward off as well, so you're in a good spot now on mid. You've got a bit of a level advantage. You're going to be able to ride up to level 6, ride up to level 7, and that's when we start to see, again, Motivate.Trust having to commit those resources onto that mid to play off that timing. Q, getting some good scouting out, spots out a couple of the stacks, and kind of contests Yif from building up more. We won't have the opportunity to head mid now being spotted out. That does give Citrus maybe a bit of an angle if he wants to play here.
He's going to try with the Vortex, but Gotcha is going to rotate around to try and help Q out. Menu Ping even chasing him down now as they are just trying to slow him down. Q still not going to die, however, and they just won't have the damage. Nice of Motivate to waste a bit of time here from the supports of Team Orca. Citrus, though, still farming very well. It does seem like they are prepping to just fight over the next room, being the power room, but the roll is going to be there. Onto Menu Ping again. Kick away into Gotcha, but Q's the one in trouble, and may just drop this time as they do punish. Citrus able to take one. He might even take two, but they do not want to go high ground. They will let Boom Boy leave the area. The Boom Boy might just stick around because, again, those 6-minute runes, they are coming, and between a Storm and a Leshrac, that rune is going to be very important. Problem is top lane.
Lots of...
Toy's in trouble, John. You do not want to let Toy die like this, and he's out of mana now. This is very problematic as Toy needs help right now. The TPs are finally coming in, but it might be too late. Boom Boy, he'll go for the disruption. Toy is still in massive trouble, though, and is eventually going to die. The only positive to that being that Gotcha does get the Arcane Rune. I don't know if I'd call that worth unless they get this mid-tower somehow.
Nice. It's a level 1 Diabolic Edict. Even with the Siege Creep, this is going to be a bit of a slow process. And Gotcha Boy does opt for the Pulse Nova level 1 at 6. And Citrus does have enough to play tag. He's got his own 6 up. He's got the early Arcane Boots up as well, so he's got some mana sustain. Q's got to be able to line up the stun, and I think all this movement out from Motivate.Trust is actually hurting your side lanes way more, Mike, because you saw it. You're not getting much farm on Toy, you're not getting much farm on Masa. Gotcha Boy's farm is still behind severely compared to Citrus. So even with all the commitment coming out from Motivate, it's not giving them an economic edge over the side of Orca. Like, you're still getting really free farm, basically, for BT Faded here to go into the Morbid Mass casually and then into that straight Diffusal, looking to counteract the Dusa. Nothing to stop him. There's just no threat from that LC, as we pointed out in the laning phase. And if these heroes on Orca just manage to hit that early item spike now, you're still in a world of hurt. There are massive stacks in the jungle. Not all of it was scouted out by Orca, so there is some farm flying out for Toy now. But knowing the Deuce is missing, GY rotates in.
GY is second in net worth right now, John, and that's a big problem here for Motivate, as they do get a very nice deny off. So Boom Boy denying all that gold away from the Night Stalker. Still Menu Ping now trying to set up on another, is going to go into Q, but the silence is there and Gacha is around to help out. Still GY actually trying to go after Toy, does change his mind and will go back in after the Earth Spirit, as Q will not have roll for quite a while, and now with the Dark Ascension they can really dive. In fact, they found Gacha, but Gacha's got help. Masseros, he's going to turn around and try to jump in with the Jewel out, even Toy joining in to try and really help take down GY, but he's way too tanky, as Gacha Boy is going to go down. Or maybe not. Disruption was there. Never mind, Gacha barely getting himself out. It's actually GY to drop. And Motivate, I mean, they tried really hard to keep Gacha alive, but John, it does pay off in the end.
Yeah, it's a massive investment. They secure their stacks, they secure the kill, they keep their last track living. This is one of the rotations that is paying off now for Motivate.Trust. Issue is, as you see, VT Faded still free farming, so it still comes at a cost, but it is playing to your strengths now and Motivated. So they will line up for mid.
Disruption is going to save again. Gacha going to be okay, but Citrus does have that level 6 mark, so he can zip in. Still Gacha looking for that split earth, is going to get a great man, 2-man stun. Citrus, he's going to try and turn now back in onto Q, but they are just poking and prodding across the river. And so they do get away with the IO kill here, Motivate.Trust. They'll be happy with that.
Yeah, it's a big kill. You're taking out a lot of the region that's allowing Citrus to play aggressively, but they find Boom Boy.
That they do. They'll try to disrupt and make it as hard as possible. As now the roll in, they've got the Storm Spirit, and that's a great play in from Q. Orca still constantly getting baited across the river, and they keep paying for it.
Now, they've got to be cautious about overcommitting like that. I get that Orca want to play aggressive. I get that they're very confident in their Ursa having a lot of space, but you've lost a lot of space now on your Storm. Good news for Orca is that they do manage to clear the top tier 1 with GY, so they've got a little bit more room to breathe, but their mid is melting fast. Gacha Boy's got that level 3 Edict up at level 8. It doesn't take too long for Lesh to get that done by himself. And I think you're starting to see some of the issues of the Storm early on. He doesn't have any items to play with, right? Like, he's going to need something up to help him with his mana sustain. Arcane Boots is just not quite enough, and the double null is kind of helping to mitigate that, but we need to see maybe a fast Orchid, maybe a Eul's to save. Could be a possibility for Citrus, or the usual Kaya as well. He does manage to get the Arcane Rune, but Boomboy's on point with the Disruption once more. No follow-up.
They're not going to be able to set up with that. Gacha was a bit too far, but they do get that tier 1 mid tower, and that's just as important for Motivate.Trust. Nice pick up there from the dire end, but now they might be in for a fight. There was some aggressive posturing from Team Orca, but they aren't going to try and force it yet. Even with that Arcane Rune on Citrus, they aren't 100% confident. So Motivate, they will happily back out, move into that bottom tier 1 tower and take care of that instead. And Team Orca, I mean, they still seem very comfortable just allowing BT Faded to keep farming. As soon as he has that Diffusal Blade up anyway, he's going to want to fight. In fact, they're going to go for Roshan, I think. Faded? Yeah. He's running to the Roshan pit. Perfectly timed scam from Motivate, but can they really force the fight? Toy, he'll get jumped. Citrus is going to force the Stone Gaze very early on. That's already a good start to keep this Roshan going, but Motivate.Trust can't really afford to let this go the way of Team Orca for free. Problem is they don't really have much of a choice in the matter, as Masseros now is going to get jumped, and Citrus with this Arcane can keep zoning them out, and they have no way in. Now with the Aegis up on Citrus, he's going to be even more confident to keep going in. Roll, it's going to connect. Menu Ping has been caught here by Q into the duel. Gotta be the first duel victory here for Masseros. They'll get the deny on the ward immediately.
Yeah, they managed to find something for the troubles here in Motivate.Trust, but Orca still comes out on top with that Aegis up and running Citrus. I think if you're Orca right now, you need to find a way to get some map control back. With a mid missing, you can see how confident Motivate.Trust is to just constantly group up now. They can take so many angles with Earth Spirit. They will go for a smoke play with Gotcha Boy and Boom Boy. And all they need is one simple disruption from Boom Boy. He's got the keen optic as well to help out in that cause. Good scan out from Orca this time around.
Oh, it's a regen rune. But they might be able to get the Aegis, and that might make it worth it. Still, the IO relocate is there. Citrus, if he wants, can just pop the regen and keep the fight up. He might not be willing to let Yif die, and it doesn't seem like they will be, as there is a Dark Ascension out from GY to try and zone out and maybe get some information here for Citrus. Still, all of Motivate are together, ready to fight whenever. This Dark Ascension might not lead to much, but never mind. Citrus, he'll move in onto Gotcha. They force out the press the attack as now the Shadow Demon has been caught from the backside. GY gonna take care of Boom Boy. Still, they do try to go back in onto BT Faded, but he is out of there as GY is still trying to fight, but now without the Dark Ascension, he has waited around a bit too long. Problem is, Q is still waiting on the roll to be able to try and reinitiate onto GY, and in fact, never mind, because Citrus, he's happy to keep fighting, but Gotcha, oh, he's missed the stun. That is not good news, but the press the attack is going to allow them to get back out and reinitiate back in onto Yif. Problem is the Nightmare is going to put a hold to all of that as now the zip back in from Citrus, back in onto Q. They get the Earth Spirit down. Motivate, though, still trying to move in, but they don't have the control at the moment. GY, he's going for the TP out, but they are going to get the Yule Scepter off in time, and they should be able to get a nice, easy duel victory for Masseros. So all things being said and done, it's really not too bad here for Motivate.
Yeah, Orca are just constantly forcing these re-engage. They don't manage to fully top up on their Storm Spirit to really get a lot going from Citrus's end in that continuous fight. And Motivate just find that hole and plug it. You know, they manage to make it work their way, now, while still getting some farm out in Toy. We're talking about that early lead out from VT Faded. It's kind of gone. Toy's managed to find a lot of space in that top jungle, playing in the Ancients down the triangle, and he has managed to build up quite nicely. Only the Yasha and the Dragonlance for now. The Mantis not too far off, and once you have those stats up and running, bursting down the Dusa is going to be a tall order without VT Faded and stuff. You've got to find a way to get the Ursa inside these fights. You're going to need a blink, and that's still a ways off here.
The battle of the Pos 5s right now between Team Boom Boy and, of course, Menu Ping. They will chase him down, looking for the Yule setup, but Boom Boy, or rather Menu Ping, is running way too fast. Even with just the brown boost and the wind lace, he does outrun Gotcha. They are unable to keep up and catch up. That'll be it. They are unable to capitalize. So Motivate.Trust back into the jungle. Still, GY might show down a bot lane, so they might have a way to go back in. Problem is, GY might hunt down Q first. So Menu Ping's there with the Fiend's Grip, and they will commit it immediately into the Dark Ascension. They'll be able to find at least one pick off here. Can they get out scot-free though? Menu Ping? No, GY. He's going to get purged up. Still, Nightmare is out onto Masseros, and the TP away from Menu Ping is going to be there as GY turns back around onto Boom Boy, and he's trapped himself up. His own illusions trap him in the tree line.
Enough of you left to bury.
Yeah, that's a bit painful. 2 support kills coming out for Orca. Not the biggest. There's a bit of a jump out from Citrus up top. Toy already using that Stone Gaze, so we're not going to be protected. You still get a little bit of movement out, right? Like, you're forcing Motivate.Trust to be split up, opening up angles for the Storm Spirit. Now, VT Fade is up here as well.
Oh, Toy, he's already low on mana, John. Press the attack's not going to do enough, I don't think. So even Citrus without mana had just enough to slow him down, and that's what you're worried about if you're Motivate. Like, Toy is just nowhere near at the point where he can really fight back at the moment on this Dusa, and sadly enough, VT Faded has out-farmed him. That's terrible news for a Medusa. Now Q may get caught out. VT Faded will run into him. Nice little hop there from VT Faded to avoid the kick away. Press the attack will be there into the perch to try and save. So they do go into Gotcha Boy now, but the duel is out. Masseros, he got a great target in the form of the Ursa, and they will be able to get the kill. Into another now. Menu Ping does also get caught out, and Gotcha Boy should be able to clean up, as he does. Poor old Yif, he's not out of it yet either. He will have to relocate back in and die along with the rest of his team. That's a very successful time here for Motivate.Trust.
He gets some punishment off to Orca. who are playing really aggressive. They're maybe overextending just a bit, being punished for it now. You aren't falling too far behind here on Orca despite these losses. It's still a very even game, 7-10, but less than 1k net worth lead still stands for Orca. And now you have the Orchid up on Citrus as well. So you can zip it and look for these kills.
He missed the Vortex, but it won't matter. Masteros, he's still going to drop. The Citrus even taking out the Courier of Oh, that was the blink.
Boy.
That was the blink. Tips out. BT faded, tipping Boom Boy now as Boom Boy's going to get caught out. Very nice timing on the tip from BT faded as Boom Boy almost looked lost for a second there.
Yeah, just chasing way too far to try to pin down the Storm. Citrus finds an extra kill after that Courier, and everything's happy now for Orca. So even after taking a bad series of fights, they're still in a good position here on Orchid. They're still managing to get that hit and run off with Citrus. With the Orchid up, it's going to be hard to play against that Storm, especially if the LC's not around to purge off that silence, or she gets silenced up first. And you still have this issue where between the Dusa and the Ursa, there's just not much farm coming out. And speaking of...
Yeah, you can't be here. Toy cannot farm here. Against the draft of Orca, you cannot you can't farm in positions like that. Toy needs to stay in the triangle. There's no way you can farm there.
Radiant's middle tower is under attack.
It's a massive risk, and that's the big target they need to pin down on Orca. Motivate.Trust are grouping around now, looking to fight back. And see if they can catch at least maybe GY here.
Boom Boy, be caught by the Nightmare as the Dark Ascension again is in. GY though takes the Nightmare, but it won't matter. As he's got so much damage with the Echo Saber, and even with the blink up, he's going to keep going for more now. Just keep that vision up for the rest of your team to make their way over. And look at Masaros just copping so much of it from GY as they're going to try and turn, but GY's got help around him now. This is not the team fight for Motivate to try and force. So they are going to bring Toy back down to the bot lane. Though I doubt Toy goes too much further. This time he will go back into the triangle.
Just build up the farm where he needs to. Orca are not in position now to counterfight. They've kind of split up, but they've already found what they need. And they're going to be starting to maybe apply some pressure in that mid. Fortify's still up, so they can't fully commit. But once they find that mid-tier 1 tower, the top jungle, it's just entirely unsafe for Motivate.Trust. Not that it's been safe recently anyway. And that is cutting into the bottom line here for Motivate.Trust. There's just not enough room for them to really build up a huge item advantage. Like, yeah, it's only a 2k lead for Ragdoll, but that's mainly down to Masa not having farm and everyone else being equal. And you don't want to be equal. You've got to do so. She's supposed to be able to clear out stacks very fast. She's supposed to be able to clear out camps very fast. Not much when you're sharing that with Leshrac here, Mike.
Orca still very defensive as Boom Boy. And Massa and Q are there. Might want to just start on menu ping if they can find the chance. Problem is, Menu Ping has plenty of vision around the area, so they know exactly where Motivate.Trust are at the moment.
Dire's top tower is under attack. Radiant structures are fortified.
Meanwhile, mid-tier 1 is going down. It's like Toy will slowly chip away. Menu Ping, he'll go for the Fiend's Grip. Oh, here we go again. Press the attack this time is going to save. BT Faded has relocated along with Yif. Maybe this time they will be able to clean up at least one. And Yif is going to go down as they use the Medusa as bait. They purge off the Fiend's Grip. That's more like Motivate.Trust.
Yeah, they're starting to play together really well now in Motivate.Trust. They find a tier 2. They're going to take the outpost in exchange. Inside of Ragdoll or Orca can't really find much for it. As Motivate.Trust now will go for a smoke play. They've got a fresh Bloodstone up on Gotcha Boy. A lot of mana flying out with the Yules as well. They're going to want to build up those charges. Maybe sneak a Roshan as well after the fight if they are aware. And they're going to be able to find a big target if they find VT Faded here.
Oh, this would be a great one. VT does not have the Enrage at the moment, but he blinks away. He has blinked away so far. They will roll in after him, and they do land the stun into the pushback, but BT's fine as GY is going to jump in, and he's got the Shadow Demon. Boom Boy's already gone. Meanwhile, towards the south, though, Menu Ping has been caught, and that will be a 1-for-1 on the supports. So Orca, do they really want to try and force the fight? It does seem like they do. They want Gacha first, though. They want all that damage gone, and they're going to get up a Citrus. He's going to drop the Toy. He is starting to hit harder and harder on this Medusa, and now with the roll back in, they might even find BT faded, and they will. So Motivate really grouping up now, and while it is still quite messy, they are getting the better end of these engagements.
They are. It is a bit costly, though, to lose Gacha Boy like that. Fresh Bloodstones down to 12 charges once more. Not what you want to see from Lesh, who just buys it out. But you are building up really well on Toy. Just with a Manta and the ultimate orb up, he is a lot harder to burst down. It's hard for VT Faded to just stand there and hit the Dusa. So much protection coming out from Motivate.Trust to ensure Toy is in a good position to take these fights, that it does feel like you need this BKB to be done on the Ursa, and he's still a ways off from it, Mike. So the good news here for Orca is that Motivate.Trust aren't really in the strongest position for Roche yet. They'll move in now, but there's enough time for Orca to kind of respond to that Roche fight here.
There is. Motivate.Trust, though, they're going to get started on it. Keep in mind, you are up against the Storm, or even the Night Stalker, though he doesn't have Dark Ascension, which makes this Roshan fight very awkward now for Orca. Excuse the pun. It's Motivate. They will just keep it up, and yeah, Team Orca, they're not going to even try to fight. In fact, I don't even know if they know this is happening. Though they should very well know. The Observer Ward was there. It's just that they don't feel confident enough to force it.
Yeah, that's a bit surprising. They play on the opposite side of the map. They avoid the fight, maybe not feeling confident without the Dark Ascension on GY. So the fight would be really awkward, and that's a huge boost now for Motivate.Trust. Having this protection on Gacha Boy, allowing him to take the front lines for his team, having the Ag shard up on Toy, even without the Ags, the shard is still annoying. That's going to give a lot of mana back to Toy in the middle of these fights, boosting up his durability, making bursting down Medusa an even harder prospect here for VT Faded. For Orca now, they've got to play it a bit safe. They are kind of grouping up to break the smoke. Menu Ping in a really nice spot for that.
That he is. They're going to try and roll in, though, and they have found GY, but Yip is getting ready to save with the relocate, and he's going to make it out just fine. In fact, Menu Ping, now with the TP out, somehow has gone unspotted. And I suppose the only kill they can hope for now is the IO. They should eventually be able to secure this as, well, I suppose you can get a bit of jewel. Never mind, they didn't have the jewel available. Of course they didn't. They already used it on GY. So no jewel damage for Masaros.
Yep. A bit unfortunate, but really good movement out from Orca, knowing what Motivate.Trust wanted to do right after that Roche. Great smoke break from Menu Ping, and they cut their losses. They're still building up farm here on the side of Orca. BKB almost done on Faded, just lacking about 1,000 gold, and once that's up and running, your Ursa should be able to handle that Medusa if they find the Yang. I think there's going to be a lot of work put in from GY and VT Faded to ensure Toy dies, but once they take care of that big target, everyone else is kind of easy to handle. That's all they really need here for Orca, but while that time is being built up, Mike, they're going to lose objectives. Mid-tier 2 gone, bot already gone earlier on. High ground pretty open here for Motivate.Trust. Can't go Megas. They can find a couple of racks with a Lesh rack, though.
Yeah, in we go. Motivate. Doing a great job this game around. That tier 3 mid tower just not going to be really defended here by Orca. Just not feeling confident. So they'll pop the crippling rather than the Dark Ascension. GY is going to move in and get the vision for his team as he's already popped that crippling fear, but they just popped that Shadow Demon, so the Ghost Scepter is going to buy time, and now with the Stone Gaze out, it's going to be kind of hard to secure a kill as GY is still trying, but he's been punched off the boot. Now Disruption, even more time being bought as the duel comes out. They've got GY. Can they kill him though? It does seem like they can, as Q is now still alive to boot with the Ghost Scepter himself. He is not dying either. They'll finally take him down, but Masaros is more than happy to keep the fight up onto Citrus. Citrus will TP away. It does end up being a 2-for-2, but it does favor Motivate.Trust.
Yeah, they win out big. 3k lead up now. VT Faded taking a very risky farm position. And they're having issues without that BKB, Mike. They forced the fight while still waiting for that item build-up on VT Faded, and it's costing them. High ground now completely open. Citrus still going to try.
He certainly is. Citrus, move in. Slowly start sapping the HP away here from Gacha.
Radiant
They'll still have that
structures
Aegis
are
though, so you're gonna have to do that quite a few times till you can actually get that first
Radiant's
life
middle
gone.
barracks are under attack.
Doesn't make it too easy when you've got the regen from the Bloodstone either, but Garcha again gonna be jumped here. Still Masteros gonna move in and does get the duel out onto the Bane. They've got plenty of damages now. BT, he's jumped in by himself. He's got the BKB up, so he's gonna try and deal with Garcha, but again the Aegis is still available. BT faded. He is not dealing the damage he would have hoped for. Still, GY is behind the whole side of Motivate.Trust. But they don't care because they surround themselves around Toy. And they seem to know that the Medusa just can't be dealt with now.
Radiant's bottom tower
No,
is
all
under
the saves
attack.
coming out from Motivate.Trust are just complicating issues for Orca. They can't jump in. They've got the shard upgrade as well on the LC. And you can see Faded jumps in. Even with the defusal, he just kind of tickles Toy now. It's just not enough buildup on VT Faded just yet. You've got this pretty good gold advantage on Toy. So you're going to find another set of rags if you're not careful.
Yeah, and Garch is looking for a free reset here with the Aegis. Still about 45 seconds to go on that, but Orca, of course, know that as well, so they're not going to make the jump in yet. They'll wait out the timing a little bit. Team Orca, though, going to try mid lane instead, where they're going to find Boom Boy. He's currently just trying to farm that mid creep wave, and GY should be able to initiate here for the team. Yeah, Boom Boy is going to run the right way around and still has that disruption and Ghost Scepter to be able to protect himself. I suppose knowing that, Team Orca will not make the jump in because it probably would have just taken too long and the rest of Motivate would have been able to get there in time.
They just can't find the angle. And Motivate.Trust, again, they're playing together a lot stronger here, Mike. They're really using that long-range initiation you can get out with Q really well. I think the issue for Ragdoll is we haven't been seeing the biggest relocate offensive plays. It's all been defensive down the line, just from Motivate.Trust forcing the issue every single time. You do have this big item spike on Citrus, though. Ags is up on the Storm. AoE Vortex in play. Our mini black hole is here. That could be the control Ragdoll needs, or Orca needs, for the high ground defense, and this should allow them a lot more leeway in starting these fights. They've even got the Arcane Rune ready for Citrus for the high ground defense, so Motivate.Trust have got to watch themselves. The Aegis has expired. You can be in a really risky position, but they'll go for a smoke play here.
And they go, though. Motivate.Trust onto the high ground right behind Toy. Dark Ascension pop. They have got the Nightmare on Toy, but that's going to be taken by BT Fade. It's still GY in the back is trying to go after Boom Boy, but he's still alive, still surviving, at least for a little bit longer as Boom Boy is still not down. He gets the purge out. GY finally gets the kill, but now Masteros is going to jump in with a duel out. Still Fiend's Grip is there on Toy, but it's cancelled off by Garcha. It is not looking like a great team fight here for Team Orca, as they are still trying to deal with this Medusa, but Toy, he is fighting back. BT Faded is going to drop on the Ursa without buyback, and now Yif, he cannot run away from Garcha. Neither can Citrus from Q and Boom Boy, and they call it. GG has been called, and Motivate.Trust, they at least managed to draw this series out 1-1.
They managed to get it to work. You see really strong showings out, especially from Q on that Earth Spirit. They did invest a lot early on mid to enable Gotcha Boy this time around, but it does pay off. It looked like the lanes were going a lot slower for Motivate.Trust. We did see VT Faded hit some really good early farm spikes, but once they played as a team on Motivate.Trust, Orca were just kind of overextending a lot. You know, they kept forcing out these fights. They were being punished for it from Motivate.Trust, and the teamwork is finally showing up. This is the Motivate.Trust we were looking for in Game 1, Mike. They show up in Game 2. Orca, valiant effort. You know, there were some good moments there for GY, but it did feel like, especially while waiting for that BKB on VT Faded, they just kept running in, and without that BKB, it was just very hard for the Ursa to stand on top of the Dusa, which is the entire point of that defusal. So
Yeah.
maybe just a bit too aggressive on Orca, but it is what it is. It is a drawn series here, Mike.
Oh, absolutely. And with that, we are going to have to move on to our next series, Jonathan, which is going to be Team SMG against Polaris. I think I heard some rumors of a stand-in here for one of these teams. John,
Yes.
I believe are we allowed to confirm who the stand-in is for what team?
I think we should be able to.
We should be able to,
break the
yeah.
news out, Mike. Break the news.
Where is the news, though, John? I've completely lost it, is my problem. Hold on a minute.
All right.
I'm looking.
It's still up there. It's a bit of a scroll. We could just say it right now.
Say it.
I believe Pylai is standing in for Roger.
For
Pylai.
SMG. Right.
Yes.
There you go. Pylai Dai is going to stand in for SMG, I believe, for the whole series, though I suppose we'll give you an update if that is not going to be the case. But for anyone out there that, you know, that does need to know if you are, you know, gambling or anything like that. Pylai is stepping in. Roger is stepping out for today. And with that, we are going to head off to a very short break. And right after that break, of course, we'll be back with Team SMG against Polaris Esports.